Okay, my friends, this is extremely interesting. This is Yale University. This is just today they put this out, and it's about obesity and your gut. All right, the gut-brain axis. And I'm going to brief it up for you real quick because it's a little lengthy, but what it's about is obesity may permanently change the brain. Yale study finds severely impaired response to nutrients. Well, the impaired response is due to bacteria, I believe. All right, so here's the down and dirty here. What they found out was there's these signals in the brain that turn on and off according to what nutrients you eat. One of them responds to sugar, glucose, and one of them responds to fats. They found in obese people, the fat response just didn't click in. It just didn't click in. The sugar one was okay, but the fat one didn't click in. So it said, I need more fat. And the fat was just put on as fat. It wasn't going in and being really worked with correctly, digested correctly. So it went in as fat. And the reason it's not digested correctly is because you don't have the right bacteria to digest it. Now, so they found that obese people did not have that response to fats. Sugars was okay, but lean people had both responses. Now, originally they've always thought it was genetic. Well, you're not responding. Well, you got a bad gene. Well, now that is all up in the air. They realize now that genes need. They knew this, but genes need to be turned on. It's called methylation, and either you turn it on or it's turned off, or it could be damaged. That's a fact, yes. But it could be perfectly fine and not be able to be turned on because the chemistry's not there. Because the chemistry's not there because the bacteria is not there to make the enzyme, and the enzyme is the chemistry. And the bacteria, you have to have this bacteria, and that's why these fecal microbiota transplants appear to be so effective. I'm going to run through a whole batch of different diseases that they now are looking into. I mean, they're looking into it for every single disease, but very, very, very slowly. This has been going on for years and years and years. And I mean, even C. difficile, 50 years ago. They knew it worked, and it was quick and permanent. And it's still not even allowed today. And I think this is a money issue because this is a big money, $5.4 billion a year in pain and suffering paid into the medical industry when all you have to have is one of these fecal matter transplants. 95% effective is what they say. Now, I'm just saying this is a research. I'm not saying go get one, don't get one, whatever. This is what the research says. And I have to, obviously, I take a position about things. You know, I say, well, that doesn't seem right. What do you think? Everybody's got to be able to take a position. So, they only want people to say things that are politically correct now, and everybody's going to say the same thing. And if you don't say the same things, we're going to stop you from talking. That's what's happened to most people. That's why we never get anywhere. As soon as you start talking up, they shut you down. And I'm not saying take anything, don't take anything. Again, I am a researcher. Good morning, my outstanding friends. This is going to be very, very, very important for you to watch. I would not cut this out. What are we going to study? Well, we're going to study this new study that Yale did on impaired response to nutrients and obesity. And it can permanently change your brain, they say. Now, let's see what they have to say, and then I'm going to explain to you what nutrition is all about. And this is being missed, and maybe Yale will miss it, maybe they won't. I haven't seen it yet. Let's do this research together. That's how I'm going to do things from now on. We're going to do it together, and we're going to try to understand. So let's read what they have to say, and let's see what we have to say. Simple as that. Not a big deal. All right, so let's see what the claim is. This is Mallory Locklear from Yale University, June 13th, 2020. 23. Now, researchers from Yale found that obesity is associated with diminished brain response to nutrient intake. Let's think about that for a second. Obesity is associated with diminished brain response to nutrient intake. So your brain is not responding to the nutrients you're taking in. Well, that's sort of hard to understand, but let's keep going. And it doesn't recover even after weight loss. So they're saying if you're overweight, your brain is in trouble. It sounds to me. And even if you lose weight, your brain is still in trouble. Why? Why is your brain in trouble because you're obese? And why does it not recover when you lose weight? The study offers insight into why maintaining weight loss is challenging for some people and emphasizes the significance of the human brain in obesity. All right, so obesity and the human brain are linked, is what they say. Okay, so let's see what we got here. After a person eats, the gut dispatches a series of signals to the brain conveying the presence of nutrients. Well, how do they know that? A phenomenon that scientists believe may help regulate eating behavior. Obviously, your brain tells you when to eat. Obviously, you should get some other signal back, I would think, that says, well, I ate enough, I'm all set, I got enough nutrition, I'm good to go. Well, how does that nutrition get into your body? That's the key. Now, in a new study led by Yale's Mirel Serrier, researchers found that while the detection of nutrients in the stomach does induce brain activity changes in lean people, such brain responses are largely diminished in people with obesity. Think about that again. If you're not obese, when you eat, your nutrients change your brain activity, very quickly and correctly, apparently. But the brain response is diminished in people that are obese. Why does their brain not respond to nutrients? Your brain must be telling you, you better keep eating because you're not getting the nutrients. So you keep eating and you keep gaining weight, but you still never got the nutrients that your body needed. That's the story of obesity. You think you need more food. Your brain says to you, I didn't get the message. I don't know what's going on. Keep eating. And the rest of your body says, well, I just ate so much, I can't eat anymore, so I don't care. Just keep eating. You didn't get the nutrition, so you keep eating. You get obese. Okay, so Yale says the reason this brain activity is not being told, I have enough to eat, is the reason you can't lose weight. So you're not getting the message. Now, the findings were published June 12th in Nature Metabolism. Over 4 million people die each year around the world as a result of being overweight, according to the World Health Organization. That's kind of fuzzy math. And understanding the biological factors, that's the only possibility we're ever going to have to get out of this. I understand the biological factors. I don't think Yale does. Let's find out. We have to understand the biological factors that contribute to obesity, and it'll be essential for addressing its devastating global impact, says researchers. And while the ways that the body responds to nutrient intake may be a key factor in eating behavior, the role of nutrient signaling in humans is not well understood. You don't understand it at all. All right, it says that the new study researchers infused glucose or fat directly into the stomach of 28 people identified as lean, those with a body mass index of 25 or less, and 30 people with obesity of a body mass index of over 30. They then assessed brain activity through functional magnetic resonance imaging. So they gave lean people a whole bunch of fat, and they gave obese people a whole bunch of fat. What happened in their brains? Among the lean participants, The researchers saw evidence of reduced activity across various regions of brain following the infusion of both glucose and fat. What does that mean? That means that their brain says, hey, I just got a whole bunch of nutrients here. Boy, you better stop eating. You go get fat. Conversely, they observed no changes in activity in participants with obesity. Why did their brain not change? Why did their brain say, you just had a whole batch of stuff, don't keep eating? Why? It was surprising. At Yale Medical School, the senior author of the study said, right? So it was surprising. We thought there would be different responses between lean people and people with obesity, but we didn't expect this lack of changes in brain activity in people with obesity. I expect it, and I know exactly why it's happening. Surley and her colleagues then took a closer look at brain region called the striatum, which previous researchers has shown mediates the rewarding and motivational aspects of food intake and plays a key role in regulating eating behavior. The striatum does this in part through a neurotransmitter, dopamine. That is a chemical, right? A chemical is produced by an enzyme. We're going to be getting into that. All the chemicals in your body, virtually 100% of everything that is biologically reactive. In other words, it breaks down food, it kills invaders, it creates nutrition. Those are all products of enzymes. If you don't have the enzymes, they're not going to happen. So they say this part through these neurotransmitter dopamine, that is a chemical. It requires an enzyme. Right? Remember enzyme. Remember that. Because you're going to hear bacteria very soon. All right, so they found that in lean people, both glucose and fat led to decreased activity in two parts of the striatum. They said, okay, I just had a bunch of food, I'm okay. However, only glucose led to changes in brain activity in participants with obesity. So the glucose part was the part that your body realized, I've got enough glucose, but I don't have enough fat. Now, only in one area of the striatum. So they responded to glucose, which is basically sugar. And that gave them a response. It says, okay, I just had a bunch of sugar, but no response to the fat. Fat did not change brain activity, and it's supposed to. When researchers evaluated the dopamine release in the striatum following nutrition infusion, they found a glucose-induced dopamine release in both groups, while fat only caused dopamine release in the lean participants. It's the fat. So those are lipids. We can look into their molecular form, but I can tell you what happens right now about fats. Well, basically everything in your body is controlled by bacteria, which creates the enzymes. The enzymes are the chemistry sets that activate the response to all the chemistry in your body. 100%. Not 10%, not 90%, not 99%, 100% of the chemistry in your body is either created or is created by enzymes, which are a product of bacteria. So if you killed your bacteria, you're done. That's what causes literally all of these problems in your body. If you don't have the bacteria, you are not going to be healthy. It's as simple as that. And guess what they have done? Fecal matter transplants are in the news all across the board now for every single disease there is. Literally every one. You look up any single disease and put in fecal matter transplant and this particular problem, and you're going to see that they're starting to nibble around the edges because it's never been accepted before. Even Yale says eat, poop, and live. I'm not kidding you. Yale themselves. They know this, and they just they can't relate anything together. I don't want to get into Yale. That's a sore spot for me. Anyway, these findings, researchers said, compatible with reduced nutrition sensing. They can't tell, they don't know. And the reason they don't know is because they don't have the bacteria to break the stuff down, to create the chemistry to say, hey, I'm all set. I just got a whole bunch of fat. We're good to go. Don't keep eating. Never got broken down. So the fat goes in as fat, and it adds to the fat in your body now. All right? It doesn't get broken down. Don't break it down. That's why you're getting fat. You can't break it down. All right, the study participants with obesity underwent 12-week dietary weight loss programs. Those who lost at least 10% of their body weight were then re-imaged. For those individuals, the researchers found weight loss did nothing to change the brain's response. They still don't have the bacteria. None of the diminished response was recovered. None. Obviously, you don't have the bacteria. Give them a fecal matter transplant, then test their responses. And I will literally guarantee you, if I'm wrong, I will eat Caesar right here, right off the deck. Caesar, I won't have to eat you, buddy. Don't worry, you're all set. This is Caesar, my goose. You see his feather patterns in here? These are mud fossils. That's my other issue with Yale. We'll get into that later. They just miss everything. It's absolutely amazing that Yale is touted as a really intellectual school. I never saw anything like this in my life. They just miss everything. So let's go on. Hold on, I gotta stop for a second. If it wasn't so tragic, it'd be hilarious. Look at this. They keep, every time you look into something for a microscope or something, they slaughter you with these ads. All right. Prior analysis found that most people who lose weight regain it within a few years of dieting. You can diet all you want, but you're going to gain it back if you don't have the bacteria. The new findings, the researchers say, may help explain why this is so often the case. In my clinic, when I see people with obesity, they often tell me, I ate dinner, I know I did, but it just doesn't feel like I ate it. And I think that's part of this defective nutrient sensing, says this Cyrilla. This may be why people overeat despite the fact they've consumed enough calories. And importantly, it might explain why it's so hard to keep the weight off. I can explain it. They don't have the bacteria. Understanding the biology, absolutely, of eating behavior in humans still in its early stages because they don't pay any attention. That's why. More research will be needed. Oh yeah, we need funding for this, boy. We really need funding to figure out how to eat. It's all about money, my friends. Now, they're going to uncover something here. If they get enough money, they can uncover anything. Give them a lot of time, a lot of money. We can walk in circles forever. So what biological pathways are involved? Well, bacteria. Now, everyone overeats at times, but it's unclear why some people continue to overeat and others don't. We need to find where that point is when the brain starts to lose its capacity to regulate food. What determines that switch? I have the switches in my hand, click, 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 and you won't listen. If you knew when and how it happens, you might be able to prevent it. Yes. Similarly, knowing when changes in nutrient sensing becomes irreversible, it's not irreversible. It's the bacteria that reverse it. Would help physicians determine treatment. What kind of drugs can we give these people instead of a fecal matter transplant? Forget that. It's safe, it's effective, even in the most severely compromised people. It is completely safe. They have had no problems with it. And it readjusts the bacteria in your gut, and you become healthy again. In most cases, this is where the research needs. The goal for the future would be to find a way to restore nutrient sensing if possible. Fecal matter transplants, if they do that and then test that person, I can almost 100% guarantee you that that condition will reverse. They're saying it's irreversible. It's not irreversible. It's irreversible because their minds are irreversible. They cannot get out of this brain fog that these people are in academia that says I have to do what my peers tell me to do or I will be expelled from my realm. I will lose my money. I will lose my status. That's everything it's about now. It has nothing to do with reality or health or anything along those lines. in my mind, and that's my opinion, I have every right to speak it, and these are the kind of people in these academic realms that are destroying our lives from A to Z, or A to Z, whichever way you go. Now, people still think obesity is caused by lack of willpower, but we've shown that there is a real difference in the brain when it comes to nutrient sensing. The brain is the gut-brain axis. I cannot imagine how these people can be in these positions and be so incompetent in these universities. Absolutely amazing. Okay, my friends, very, very difficult to believe, but it's true. This is an official government website. They've known about fecal matter transplants since 1978, and they're just now looking into it, and they're still just walking around in circles. This is from 2019. Impact of fecal microbiota transplants on obesity, which is what we're talking about now at the Yale study, and metabolic syndrome. Well, what is metabolic syndrome, first of all? But let's look at this, what they say about fecal matter transplants, FMTs. It's a gut microbial modulation, which they change the gut microbes. It's basically, you got bad ones, they put good ones in. That has been investigated for treatment of a variety of human diseases. Every human disease, every single invasive human disease should be investigated for fecal matter transplant, because fecal matter is the bacteria, it holds the bacteria that does literally 100% of the chemistry in your body. Everything's done by enzymes, and the only way you get an enzyme is from a bacteria. I'm telling you right now. Now, this FMT, including obesity-associated metabolic disorders. So, metabolic disorders, this is really serious. Metabolic syndrome. Well, what is metabolic syndrome? Here it is right here. What is metabolic syndrome? It's everything. It's in your body. You can't metabolize. You can't digest correctly, basically. It's a group of conditions all through your whole body. Coronary heart disease, diabetes, stroke, other serious health problems. Metabolic syndrome, also called insulin resistance syndrome. They have all kinds of names for it, but what it does, it's all related to how you process the things you put into your body, or anything that you come in contact with. You have to have bacteria, which has enzymes, which has the chemistry to deal with the invasive chemistry and invasive bacteria that are coming into you to take over your system, to eat your body. You have to have killers to come out and kill them before they can get you. And the only killers you have in your body are created by bacteria. That's it. They create the enzymes that go out and attack these other invading molecules. They also create the stuff that breaks down your food, the stuff that reassembles these little proteins back together to make bones and tendons and muscle and all that stuff. That is all accomplished by bacteria. Metabolic syndrome is nothing more than just the exact same thing as all the rest of them, is an imbalance in your bacteria. And this fecal matter transplant is, if you take good, healthy fecal matter and you are able to engraft it. Now, this is the key. You have to put it into another human being's body, and then they will, if it becomes engrafted, they're cured. It's over. And it's very, very likely that that will be the outcome. Now, I am finding that they're saying sometimes it takes 2 and even 3 fecal matter transplants before you get 100% benefit. But once you hit that 100% benefit, you are literally like a young person again, basically. You have all the ability to consume and absorb and digest, and your lymph nodes are going to be able to break down the toxins and get them out of your body. This is what happens with cancer, is invasion. And every single thing there is invasion through your membranes. Your membranes are the tissues that protect you in every range and realm of your body. And once they break through that membrane, you get a disease in that specific organ or whatever it is. Liver cancer, you know, I mean, it's right across the board. It's invasion through membranes. Now, I'm going to talk to you about something that nobody even ever considered before, basically, is this twin study. Identical twins have identical genetic signatures. However, that's only at the moment they're born. Then things change. Okay, let's just start with this. You have bacteria living in your gut. And listen to this. In this microbiome, it's an ecosystem. 10 to 100 trillion microorganisms are in your gut right now. And every one of those has a job to do. Now, listen to this now. Alterations in the gut microbiome composition and function, commonly referred to as dysbiosis, your biosis in your gut is not working right, have been associated with a variety of human diseases, including Clostridium difficile, C. difficile, irritable bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular, most recently with obesity and MS, and also autism. Let me show you, MS is something very, very serious that is metabolic syndrome. All right, and all of these other things are very, very significant too. And fecal microbiota transplant is a gut modulation. They change the bacteria in your gut, and it has been investigated for the treatment of a variety of human diseases, including obesity and this metabolic disorder. Now, this is from the National Institute of Health. This is no joke. And this is what metabolic disorder is, metabolic syndrome. It covers everything, and a lot of it leads to obesity. And obesity means you can't manage the food that you're eating. And just as this Yale study says, your body keeps saying, "Come on, eat, keep eating. I didn't get the signal that you got enough fat." Well, the fat just keeps coming in and just keeps piling up as fat, instead of being dealt with by your body and say, you know, we got enough fat, we're good to go. No, your body says there's no fat. Why is there no fat? Why does your body not think you're getting fat when you're getting the fat? It's because there's no enzyme to create that neurological pathway to the brain. And it's all done by bacteria. All right, I just talked about metabolic syndrome, and that is, all of this stuff it's all the same. It's all, the only thing that works in your body to make your body work is bacteria. You don't have the bacteria, you can't create the enzymes. You don't have the enzymes, you don't have the chemistry. You don't have the chemistry, whatever's supposed to happen is not going to happen. It's not a big understanding. Treatment of metabolic syndrome by fecal transplant. They're doing that now. They're treating it, and they're finding that it changes the number of firmicutes versus whatever the other ones are, bacteriocutes or whatever, I forget what they call them. But there's an imbalance of the microbe is implicated in a number of all of these conditions, ranging from diabetes, metabolic, liver disease, cirrhosis, liver cancer, autism, overweight. Even your mood is affected by it. If you look up any single disease whatsoever, it will almost always be associated to some type of gut distress. Virtually everyone. All right, this is what they're missing. This is the twin study. All right, they're taking identical twins. When they are in the womb, they are free of basically any kind of bacteria and so forth. They're in a sterile environment, more or less. When they are born, their immune systems are undeveloped. They don't have any immune system. But they are identical in their genetic makeup. So, and they say the gene controls this and this other gene controls that. Well, this is being challenged now. But I have a whole different take on it, which I will obviously explain now. They're talking about all these different things that happen differently in twins. One of them gets it, one of them doesn't. Why? They were saying twins have been considered to be genetically identical But that has been challenged because of the increasing number of phenotypical or genotypical discordance. That means this gene is working in this twin and it's not working in this twin. Why? You're supposed to have the same genes. What's the problem? I can tell you what the problem is, and I know exactly what it is, and they're talking about missing all kinds of things, and we want to make advancements in this and that. I don't see that happening at all. Not at all. All right, so what am I saying? I am saying that genetics, it's true, your genes do control things. They're little programs. No question about that. Absolutely for certain. However, that program may exist, and it may exist in perfectly programmed. However, if you don't have the enabler, or you don't have the switch turned on that says, hey, let's go get that program and use it, nothing happens. And how does it go get the program to use it is by these bacterial enzymes that create the chemistry that trigger those responses. If you don't have the chemistry, you don't get the response. Just like the people that eat all the fat, there's no response because they don't have the chemistry to break down that fat in the way it should be broken down. And as it's broken down, it sends a bacteria or an enzyme or whatever up to your brain, and the brain gut axis and says, hey, I just got a bunch of food, we're okay down here, so cut this off. The guy doesn't need to be hungry anymore. That's the key. You don't have the bacteria sending the enzyme or whatever to make that connection. You're done. And they even do fecal matter transplants now for autism, and it's been quite successful. It's 100%, or well, 95% successful in C. difficile, which is still a devastating disease, and they won't let you have the fecal matter transplant until you fail drugs 3 times. By that time, you're almost dead anyway. But on the 3rd time, they say, oh, okay, you can have the fecal transplant now to be cured. Let me show you something about the history of fecal matter transplants. You see this? 1,700 years ago they were using this. And now they're using it again, and they're putting it in pills. All you gotta do is to take the pills. This is almost nothing to cure almost anything. And right now, you cannot have that. The government will not allow you to have that. I went to a doctor and I said, I want to get some fecal matter transplants. He said, no, you can't have it. I said, I want it. He said, no, you can't have it. I said, why not? I'm a patient. I want the fecal matter transplant. They're safe, they're effective, and they cure virtually everything in your body. He says, the government won't let you have it. I said, well, I don't care. I'm the patient. I want it. And he said, no, I will lose my license if I allow you to have something like that. And I said, allow me? I said, you people know these things are safe. He said, doesn't matter. I'll lose my license. I'm not kidding you. And you can't get it either. You go and ask, I want a fecal matter transplant for any kind of disease. I just showed you autism, everything, basically right across the board. It appears fecal matter transplant is beneficial because it changes your gut bacteria. Your gut bacteria regulates virtually everything in your body that has chemistry. So this is not right. This is absolutely not right. And you have to fail 3 times the very expensive drugs and almost die, and then you can have the fecal matter transplant. And 50 years ago, they knew they were extremely effective. Safe, effective, even for the most high-risk patients, they say. There's virtually no side effects other than a couple of days of being, gut disorder because it's taken effect. Let me show you something. It's very, very upsetting to me, I can tell you that. Fecal matter transplants. They have known, this is an article about these pills now, that they've authorized them. Oh, you can have these now. We're very nice to you, so you can take some of this and save yourself. Well, guess what? This goes back to 1958. The patients recovered promptly and well from diarrhea. 1958. Well, guess what? 1978, 20 years later, nobody would have paid any attention to it, even though it had all this empirical evidence. 1978, the value of FMT widely recognized in treating reoccurring, which is refractory, intestinal condition called Clostridium difficile, C. diff, very, very deadly. 95% of the cases, the cure was quick and permanent. This is 1978. That's 45 years ago. 95% of the cases, the cure was quick and permanent. Now we can use frozen feces and put them in pills and just eat them, and it's fine. They won't let you do it. The government won't let you do it. And they say that this is, even in the most high-risk cases, is well tolerated. No adverse responses, basically. And I'm telling you right now, you take the drugs that they want to give you, and the drugs will cause you some serious side effects. I mean serious. I have just gone through this with a very, very close loved one who is dying from cancer. And they won't let this person have a fecal matter transplant. They won't allow it. Let him die. It's a disgrace to medical situation now. Intolerable disgrace. 95% cure, quick and permanent, still not allowed to this day from 1978. Okay, my friends, I'm going to make this claim that virtually everything is related to your microbiota. Even melanoma patients, they found that fecal transplant, both studies observed evidence of clinical benefit in a subset of treated patients. And this is across the board, virtually everything. I'm going to just give you clips of each one of them. All right, identical twins are identical at birth, but one of them can grow to be obese and one of them going to be thin, and it's because of the bacteria that's within them. And they think it's due to they think, well, now they're challenging the fact that they're really identical. No, they were identical at birth. When they came out of the birth canal, the only thing they had was no bacteria whatsoever, except for what they got as being born, and that's your initial immune system, is that bacteria. That's why a vaginal birth, feces, all that stuff, or swabbed all over the kid, in his mouth, in his ears, in his eyeballs, everywhere. And then they will become accustomed to that bacteria. They'll start to develop their own little set of bacteria that will go against that bacteria. All right, that's the way the immune system works. It's bacteria against bacteria. You right now have flesh-eating bacteria all over you, everywhere. Oh my God, the flesh. No, it's good. I said, what do you think happens to your body when something inside of it dies? Which is dying continuously. You got trillions and trillions of cells. And they just continuously die, and they keep going. Well, when they die, what do you throw them in a corner and that's it? No. Somebody's got to come and dissolve them, which you don't want that bacteria coming and dissolving it when it's going and living. When it goes, you want it to come and eat it up. Well, there's a thing called apoptosis, which is some signal that says, hey, I'm not alive anymore, come and get me. Something happens in that, which is another chemistry. It's all chemistry, 100% chemistry. And the only thing that chemistry comes from is bacteria making enzymes. This is absolutely known. This is not anything that is unknown. It's just undiscovered. All right, this is about autism spectrum. Fecal matter transplant, novel method of treatment of children with autism spectrum, can relieve not only their gastrointestinal symptoms, but also their neurological behavior systems. That's because the gastrointestinal causes that, the neurological. Because it's, in my mind, I'm almost sure, it's causing the nerve synapses, the coating that keeps them separated from the movement of blood or whatever, something in there is affecting that synapse, and you get all these kind of tremors and so forth from that, and it interferes with the way they think and all that stuff, and that's the problem with autism. But they found out FMT has a benefit here, and they're finding out it has a very good benefit. After years, there's still a good benefit, and we had pretty good success with Marguerite's son, just with probiotics. So Once she cleared up his digestive system, his autism stuff basically sort of trailed off. He started speaking. He said they were going to put him in a locked ward. It was very. She was just at the end of her wits. She had nothing she could do. He had never been verbal. He was stimming and humming and buzzing around, and nobody could handle him basically. And they do what they call a locked ward over there in Belfast, Ireland. He was going to be put there for the rest of his life because they consider him a danger to himself, to others, and all that stuff. And I guess that's the way they handle it. And now over there, apparently they're taking out the autism kids when they're just tiny little kids. They're cutting their colons out because that's where all this infection is happening. But that's what's causing their autism, it appears. So somehow they have to get in there and be able to manipulate these kids' guts rather than remove them. I would think that's, again, research. We need to look into this. This has become a very, very serious worldwide problem because almost everybody in the world now has some kind of a problem with their gut. And I'm not saying what it is, but there's all kinds of things that attack the membranes that are in your body, which are loaded with bacteria, and that bacteria does the job. Now, if it's killed or it's toxified, and that's why these people living there with a toxic water system. Why are they getting cancer? Why do people go out in the sunlight and getting hit with ultraviolet light all day long, getting skin cancer? Ultraviolet light destroys the bacteria that's in your skin. It kills it. That's why. And then your lymph nodes can't handle it anymore. There's too much dead stuff. And it's just slammed, and it kills your lymph nodes because your lymph nodes are basically a lot close to the surface as well. So there's a lot to take into account, but this fecal matter transplant, boy, I'll tell you, it looks very promising for health in general in every area. And I feel extremely qualified to talk in this realm because I have researched, not just guessing. I'm researching and showing you papers. So let me show you some more stuff. All right, I'm not sure I showed you this or not, but this is the impact of fecal matter transplant on obesity and then metabolic syndrome. That's the killer. Metabolic syndrome just means you can't digest. Obesity is a part of that. And there's two parts, as I think I told you. There's the sugar part, and then there's the fat part. The fat part, when people are obese, they're missing the chemistry that tells them to turn off the desire for food. Lean people, they turn off the sugar, they turn off the fat. Obese people, they turn off the sugar, the fat, she's a no turn off. It's staying up there and it says keep eating. And when they do, the fat just goes into fat. The lean people, the fat turns into food. All right, and then now they know this. They understand this. And this metabolic syndrome is this right here. And again, everybody that they show it's got to do with obesity and coronary heart disease and diabetes and strokes and all the other serious health problems is this metabolic syndrome, which is nothing more than digestion of your food. It affects all this stuff because you need the chemistry. This is not a big, hard thing to understand. See, when I said everything, I'm not kidding you. Here's fecal matter transplant for therapy for depression. This is a case study they did. And they found out these people that were getting fecal matter transplants for other things that were extremely depressed, all of a sudden they felt good again. And so they started looking into it and they found out, yes, now we have this mental health crisis of people going out and killing other people. What's in their mind? How depressed are they? How crazy are they? And again, craziness is nothing more than chemistry. All right, every response in your body is a chemical response. They should be giving these people with depression fecal matter transplant pills. They're just pills. This is just unbelievable that this therapy is not being used and is safe and effective. All right, listen, that's for depression. It's for weight loss. It's for basically autism, cancers, all kinds of things. I mean, again, every single thing that's done in your body is a result of bacteria and the enzymes the bacteria create. 100% of it. There's nothing else done. And there is trillions of these bacteria in your body, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of species, and every one of them creates the most elegant sequence of molecules you've ever seen. And they have to be exactly that way or they don't work. And if they were exactly that chemistry of that particular enzyme, it can work so fast it can make life work. Without it, never going to happen. The enzyme is the only thing that works fast enough to make life actually be able to move and think real quick and all this stuff. It can't happen by itself. This is not your body doing this. This is the product of chemistry doing this. And it's all created by the enzymes, which are the chemistry sets. And I'm sure I've shown you that. I've shown it dozens and dozens and dozens. Well, I'm going to show you again. What the hell? If you've seen it before, maybe you don't want to bother. But I'm going to show you exactly how the bacteria squirt out these little polypeptides. Just like this. The bacteria squirts them right out of it. These little buggers come out, and then when they're all done, and they fold into a protein like that. And I mean, they are so elegant. If it's not exactly that protein, exactly shaped like that, and that yellow one to that blue, and this one, it doesn't work. And I mean, there are tens of thousands of these particles that create one of those enzymes. And one of those enzymes can come up and go bang and smash to bits 100,000 other molecules in less than a second. And the reason is because it's at the speed of light, because it's magnetism. It's click chemistry. It comes up and goes click, and everybody that's clicked in that mass, that tumor, gets hit with that pulse and dead. And this one just keeps going on and finding more to kill. That's the whole story behind enzymes. Okay, is it safe? We know it's effective. Is it safe? Well, fecal microbiota transplantation, is it safe? Again, National Institute of Health. These are the people that they make the claims. I'm just showing you the research. It says fecal microbiota transplant is an accepted procedure for management of recurrent C. difficile. Recurrent. That means it keeps coming back. And then they'll let you have one of these, but you got to go through their drugs first. I'm not kidding you. And we know it's safe and effective. Even listen to this. It says it is generally considered safe and well tolerated even in high-risk patients. Most short-term risks are mild and known to be associated with the delivery method, which is maybe scraping or something, because they used to do them colonoscopy. Now all you do is take the pills. Long-term side effects have not been established, and no signs of harm have been found to date. All right, but they still haven't figured out. Well, it says, however, causality for several microbe-associated diseases has to be established. Well, they need to put a lot of work into this. They really need to study what is in the body, what is in a healthy body versus a non-healthy body. They need to make a database of all of these different bacteria and things that are in you. You see, even though FMT is generally considered safe with strict donor screening, serious adverse events have been recently associated with FMT products from the stool bank, where screening for multi-drug resistant organisms is not included in protocols. So you have to screen for these multi-drug resistant organisms. All right? Here we discuss the adverse events associated with FMT and safety methods. There is none. There's none if you do it right with it, and that's why they're calling for these monitored stool banks. Right now it says that we're screening for multi-drug resistant organisms not included in their protocols. They have to screen them for the multi-drug resistant things. So, and that's not a big factor. I work with people that are bacteriologists. I have a guy I work with, he's a bacterial engineer. He's got 3 PhDs. He's not just a theoretical guy. And he understands this stuff quite well. And this is what they do. They screen the food coming into our country. Really, he runs the last time I know, he had 19 labs they were running to test foods coming into the country for these kind of pathogens. They don't want these things coming in, but this is not hard to find them, I don't think. This is not, I really haven't worked into this, but I've talked to a lot of people that do. And all you need to do is be sure that you screen for these organisms. Other than that, they say there's really no other issues. Okay, my friends, this is the evidence. This is Seeker, and this is Gokul, and I think he's with UC Berkeley, but he's one of some big outfit out there. Now, he is a researcher just like me. Now, what he did was they developed a new way of using light so it doesn't damage the tissue, and they can watch the tissues doing what they're supposed to do in real time, full color, all this. Watch. And he freaked out when he saw it. Here it goes.
I still remember the moment. It's something I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented...
All right, before we go any further, this is an unprecedented view of the inside of the interstitium. Now, they don't really know what they're looking at here, I don't think. They're looking at just tissue and seeing things going on. They're going to be talking about these bacteria floating through the system, and you see them actually scooping up enzymes. And then another bacteria is out there sniffing around. Now listen to it carefully. We can go back and forth through this, and I'll leave you a link to this. It's called "Your Textbooks Are Wrong. This is what cells actually look like." The textbooks told, and they just discovered this new layer. Actually, I was one of the first ones to even know about it because I found it in my fossils. Here goes.
Unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of his...
All right, she said, you hear what she said? Immune cells. That's what your immune cells look like. I'll show them to you in this new layer they just discovered, really. This is all part of these new discoveries. This is only about a year or two old.
Zebrafish in real time.
See?
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out...
Hold on, what? You see what he's showing here? You see this? You see this thing just floating around here? That's just like something like this. Going around and seeing, do I see any chemistry that matches my signature? And if I do, I got to run back and tell that guy to go and scoop up a whole bunch of stuff and scoot it out and kill somebody. This is what these are the sniffer ones. They don't eat anything. He says they don't eat anything. They're just floating around. And when they find something they want to report on, they go back to the other guy. All right, let's come back here a second. All right, so they're saying this is in the ear of a zebrafish. Well, anywhere you have a membrane,
immune cells,
doesn't matter.
Notice two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular...
Okay, that's all you have to see for now. I'll leave you a link to this. Don't forget, if I forget. Your textbooks are wrong. This is what cells actually look like. Now, let me show you what was happening in that immuno layer. Okay, we're just watching Gokul. Where he was is right in this layer. He was right in that layer. It's called the interstitium. And they just found it. This was never even known before until just recently, 2018. And that's that real dark layer there. Now, look at it closely. You see all those little pockets in there? I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom on in there a little bit. See how there's like those little pockets he was showing where the bacteria, that blue stuff was floating around? Now, what is that layer all about? That's where your enzymes and your bacteria reside. Basically, they're immune cells. That's where your immunity lives. And it squirts it out into this, is the new fluid-filled highway that runs through your entire body, and that's how these enzymes can float around. It's primarily from your gut into the rest of your body, and they are just flowing, baby. They're just everywhere, and if you kill them, you can't stop the invaders. All right, so let's talk about what does live in that layer. What is in that layer? That's what's in that layer right there, bacteria. And there are literally probably at least 100,000 different strains of bacteria species that live in you. And each one of them creates these polypeptides. You see that little ball right there? It's called a ribosome. You know what else it is? And then I don't even think they realize this. That is an enzyme, and it is a protein, and it is a virus. They're all the same thing. They're a little package of chemistry. Now, a virus, they say, oh, they're bad for you. No, not necessarily. They've just found 30,000 new ones a couple of days ago. I think it was 30,000. And they say, well, most of them are good for you, but they're viruses. No, they're not. It doesn't matter. Call it anything you want. It's an enzyme, a virus, a ribosome, a little ball of chemistry. And it has a signature on the outside of it, which is a chemical signature. And that signature attaches to something or it gets away from it. If it attaches, then this stuff can start working its way in and doing its job. And what is that job? To take over the inside of that other thing and reprogram it. Now, it's going to reprogram your body, not necessarily a bacteria, but bacteria have normal DNA just like your body does. But in addition, they make these little ribosomes. They squirt them out the back, and the flagella make these things go zip, 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 zip through your body through that fluid-filled highway. You need bacteria because they go and clean up the garbage. They come out and grab a hold of stuff and bring it and deliver it to the lymph system. These are very important, these bacteria, and there's a lot of them. Now, so what happens here? That's squirted out of there in this little ball, and it comes out in a capsid. Well, what's inside that capsid? All these little tiny balls. Okay, I'm pretty sure I showed you this, but I do get a little lost in these presentations. This spits out ribosomes. All right, that's what they make, and this is nothing more than a ball of chemistry. Now, what's inside this ball? Let's look. I can show you precisely. This is what's inside the ball. It comes down, it has the sheath around it, the sheath goes away. What happens? The enzyme is here, which is the protein. Basically, that's what happens. It comes and then it does all this, and then it creates something that looks like this. I mean, I'll show you what a protein looks like. It is unbelievable. And it has to be exactly identical to that every single time, or it doesn't work. It's called denatured. All right, here's what a protein looks like. You see that? Every one of these little dots is a magnetic signature. Every one of these little hang-off things is one of these magnetic signatures that identifies this exactly as what it is. If I went click, it's done. It's over. It's not going to work. And that's how an enzyme comes down and breaks other chemistry. That's how it comes down and kills a tumor. And what is a tumor? Well, let's take a look at that too. All right. Let's see what we got here. We showed you the bacteria. We showed you the ribosome. We showed you the protein, which is the enzyme. Now, why does it break through that layer, which is the interstitium? You're going to be attacked all day long. You're being attacked right now, all over your body. But your body is able to say, you know, stay on that side, I'll stay on this side, everybody's good. Well, this guy found a hole, and there's nobody there to protect it, and it just gets right down. Now, that's what's called stage 1, 2, 3, 4 cancer. It starts breaking in, breaking a little deeper, deeper, deeper. Then it finally really takes over, and then it starts to get its nutrition from inside your body, where you really got some good nutrition. Out here, this is superficial. There's really no big deal for this thing to eat out there. But once it gets in here, then you're in trouble. Then it takes over. Now, why did it get through there? Something should have been down here to go click, and they would have all died instantly, all of them, 100% of them, because every one of them that touches each other has the same magnetic signature. So this is one of each one of these. And they're tied together by magnets, basically magnetism. You send in a guy down through here who is your enzyme guy, and he comes down and he goes, pow, gone, all gone instantaneously. That's how effective your immune system is. A catalyst can break down hundreds of thousands of other molecules in less than a second, but it has to be engineered exactly by your body to do that. When you get hit with a new invader that you've never seen before, or your bacteria is not sufficient to keep them out, that's a pre-existing condition, and you are going to be invaded, and you're going to probably get sick. Now, can you get unsick? Absolutely. How do you get unsick? Well, you have to put the bacteria in there that would make you unsick by making the chemistry that was missing. Not a big hard thing to understand. It's just been missed because this new layer of interstitium is brand new. Nobody ever knew about it before. That is truly your immune system. Okay, this is just a quick representation. There's 20 different amino acids. Those are what they call polypeptides. You can have several of them, you can have 10 of them, you can have thousands of them attached together. They program the RNA to be able to create the enzymes that you want to create. So just to be sure that's not confusing, this is that ribosome I talked about. The messenger RNA comes down and it does a transcription RNA and turns it into these killer enzymes. Basically, that's what happens. If you don't have the correct bacteria to create these ribosomes, you can't program anything. You're just not going to program it. The bacteria is the programmer. All right, so I'm going to give you a little refresher. Don't forget, this is the layer that keeps you immune. That is where your immune cells are. That's where your bacteria is. That's where your enzyme primarily exists. Now, that's where it is. And here in the actual picture, this is it. And that squirts stuff out into this fluid-filled highway, which I showed you in that video with Go Call. And this is all brand new. Doctors don't even know about this, most of them. I'm telling you right now, once they get into their jobs, they just go to work every day, basically, a lot of them. Some of them maybe do a little research, but I haven't seen any. I've talked to a lot of doctors about this. Almost nobody knows anything about it. Now, the digestive system well, your digestive system is here. All right. They're talking about all of the different parts. I just highlighted this because although the colon might not be very important in the digestive process, it is, however, important in the production of vitamins, thanks to its large amount of bacterial flora and to its reabsorption of fluids. So it's got bacterial flora in there, and they're reabsorbing them in. Now, I don't know why I highlighted this, but this is about your digestive. If you don't digest correctly, you're done. It's all over. It's case closed. And this is the whole series of areas in your digestive system, your small intestine, your large intestine, your colon, your rectum, all that stuff. They all have a little bit different absorption. And, you need to absorb food from your small intestine primarily. That's where you get most of your nutrition. And anyway, this is your digestive system. That's all. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. It's how you digest food. And if you don't, and if any one of them isn't working right, you're going to have gut distress. You're going to have all kinds of diarrhea and whatever. Now, this is what's actually inside of all those different tubings. This is stomach. This is small intestine. This is colon. This is the key right here. This GALT, gut-associated lymphoid tissue. It's this little blue one right here. And that is actually the interstitium. That's what they always called it GALT. But it's basically the interstitium where all of that stuff floats around, I believe. Now, there's all kinds of things going on. I mean, this is, your artery comes down, brings all the blood down, you got all these muscles, you got submucosa, nerve cells, all kinds of things going on in here. And that's only, I believe this is the small intestine, but they're all basically the same. You see, they've got these layers, they've got these layers, they've got these layers, and then they have a basic specialty that they do. You know, absorbing or whatever. What else? Oh, this is something that's very interesting. These are pear patches. Very few people have any idea about these. And I didn't either until just recently. Somebody mentioned it in one of my posts, and I looked into it, and boy, this is interesting. These things show up in your gut system between the age of 15 and 25. That's your best years of your life, and they diminish until you get into adulthood. Hold on a second, I got an article about it. All right, you see the picture I showed you? That's where the pear patches are, and they are in your digestive system. And this is what really turned me on here, is they show up only between the ages of 15. Here it is right here. The number of pear patches peaks at age 15 to 25. That's the years you're most healthy, and then declines during adulthood in the distal ileum. That's part of your digestive system. So all the pear patches are observable as elongated thickenings of the intestinal mucosa. All right? And then they go away from 15 to 25. These things are producing the things that make you the most healthy and set you up for the rest of your life. It seems to me. If they're declining after 25, after 25, everybody starts to take a little bit of, father time catches up to you, and you get to be my age, and it's, most people are not in good health. I'm in pretty good health for my age. I got to be honest with you. I feel blessed. Because I was not particularly careful of what I did. But anyway, this is all about the lumen and the gastrointestinal tract. It's exposed to external environment. All kinds of things are coming down. You have to deal with them. And that's what that bacteria does. It's as simple as that. It is not complicated. But if we don't know what bacteria is in the body, and we do not, we are in for just walking around in circles getting sick. If we knew what bacteria was in your body, here's how I would handle the medical system right now. The first thing I would do is say, bring in a fecal sample. When you show up, bring in a fecal sample. I'd have a laboratory in every single hospital, every single lab. This is not going to be really hard to do. And they would say, blip, some kind of artificial intelligence, dip, hit the artificial, they see all these different colors. The colors are the key. It's the spectrum will tell you what molecule that is. What molecule is it will tell you what enzyme it is. So you can find out what enzymes are missing, what bacteria is missing, whatever. I don't think this is a big problem. I know it's being done all the time. My friend Andy does it on a regular basis. They do, all kind of searches for pathogens, so they're finding them, and they know which ones are bad, which ones are good. They must be able to do it quickly, because this is all the food coming into the country. They test it all. Well, I don't know if they test every one of it, obviously, but they test the batches, I'm sure. I don't really know that much about it. I don't want to speak about something I don't know about, but I do know that they test it for pathogenic bacteria and viruses and whatever you want to call it. Something that's going to hurt people by eating it. Let's go with that. Peyer's patches between 15 and 25, they peak. These are the things creating the enzymes. I think fecal matter transplants should be absolutely on the top of the list of investigations, and a database of every bacteria that's found and what symptoms are associated to what bacteria is. Again, this is very simple stuff. All you got to do is find the funding, and the problem is the funding is the problem. You can't get funding if you're doing something that they don't like you doing. And this fecal matter transplant, even though they know this has been around forever, even Yale had a paper out 2016 says eat, poop, and live. They knew it. Look at this. This is Yale, and this is the one Yale just did today about obesity. See? What they should have said was eat, poop, and get skinny. Here it is right here, Yale University. Eat, poop, and live. Back to 2016. Unappetizing, but it is healthy. That's Yale University. And now they're talking about how to get, some kind of drugs to make, I don't know what they're talking about here. They know now, the research does indicate that people that are obese have no signal to the intake of fat. So the fat just goes right into fat. And they just keep eating and eating and eating. And the sugar side, though, works. The fat side doesn't work. So whatever bacteria controls the consumption or regulation of the fat in relation to the sugar, it's just totally missing. They said absolute blank spot. But the lean people, both of them, bang, they had both sides gave an immediate response to be infused with fat. And that's what they did. They flushed fat really right into their bloodstream, I believe, and sugars, boom. And bang, the lean people popped both of them. The obese people went, bang, that side went up and this and nothing. All that fat was flowing through their system, and it just was like they couldn't absorb it. That's why. If it was absorbed, something in your body would say, hey, you just got a bunch of fat. You're all set. Don't put that other piece of pizza back there, pal. You don't need it. All right, see, here it is right here. Intestinal bacteria, secret to living to 100. There's something else called Peyer's patches that they don't seem to understand either. And those are the things during your healthy years, and then they decrease, which gives you less and less enzymes until you get old and die. These people had this special bacteria in them, and they live to be 100 and still quite healthy. All right, this just came out a few months ago. Peyer patches keep the intestinal flora, that's all your microbiome, at appropriate levels. The Peyer's patches, we're going to look into them closely, and so they keep it at appropriate levels, and the pathogens at bay. They kill the invaders, thereby preventing a large number of infections. Now, as a part of the pathogenesis of food allergies, the Peyer patches and vascular of lamina propria allow the circulation of inflammatory cells to the immune structures. The immune structures are where the housing of all the enzymes are that kill the stuff. So they help, it appears to me, to guide it to the place where the slaughtering ground. All right, listen to this. This is Peyer's patches, and they are very, very important. And listen to this. The number of Peyer patches peaks at your healthy years between age 15 to 25 and then declines during adulthood until you expire. And what are they and what do? They are in your intestines, in your digestive system. Peyer's patches are organized lymphoid follicles. They are an important part of the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. That's what extracts all of the bad stuff, and it deals with it. And they're right in here, in this layer. I'll show you in a second. Usually found in humans in the lowest portion of the small intestine, mainly in the distal, that's the furthest part of the jejunum, and the ileum, those are the intestines, but also could be detected in the duodenum. So they're just saying these patches are in these areas where you're doing your absorption and you're trying to defend yourself from invasion, because that's when you eat all that stuff, you got invaders and you got stuff that you want to break down and eat. And you got other stuff you don't care about. It's just bulk in there to wash it all out. So that's what's going on in there. But once these decline or they're killed for some reason, and there may be some toxic substance that does kill them. I don't know how you'd look in there to see if they're alive or not. But it appears that they're right in here. Now let's get a little deeper into this. All right, you see this? This is the person I'm talking about has melanoma. It's one of the deadliest cancers there is. You virtually never survive this. However, they found out that the fecal transplant promotes responses in these patients to be cured. Now, they still want to give them the drugs, but they want them to get the fecal matter transplant too. Now, I don't even necessarily know if you need the drugs. Who knows? If you had the fecal matter transplant, you may not need the drugs, but I don't care. If it works to cure this melanoma. And they say both studies they did observed evidence of clinical benefit in a subset of treated patients. And now they know these things help. And this goes back to, this is 2020. That's 3 years ago. Now, the pace, everybody's just dying as they sit around and walk around in circles. Oh, we should take a look at this. Oh, we should do more investigation. No, there's still no real clinical trials going on, even today. Very, very rare. And you have to, I investigated this very deeply. You have to request if you can participate in one of these studies to take one of these very, very safe, very effective treatments. You have to beg to be allowed to be in their study. And then they dictate to you what you have to do to be in it instead of being able to just take these pills. It's really not good at all. And if you don't step up and stand up and start screaming, people will die that you love. I know there's somebody you love. If you're a human being, there's somebody you love, and there's somebody I love desperately that is going to die from these people not doing what they're supposed to do.